Hi everybody, Eddie here. Happy New Year. Just going to a market update for the outlook of 2024. So in 2023, we actually had a really good end of the year. Um, we switched from day trading to concentrate a little bit more on swing trading towards the end of the year. I caught most of this second wave over here. The first wave, we did the swing trade a little bit, and then we got out pretty early, and then we waited for the pullback. And I posted on our Facebook group, free Facebook group, as well as my personal page, and our Discord, saying that if he ever hits 4,100, we're going back up the truck on the Magnificent Seven stocks. So that's exactly what we did. Once he hit 4,100, I actually loaded up on a lot of the stocks for the Make Seven as well as some growth stocks like Shopify and a few other names as well. And towards the end of the year, we actually got into Bitcoin once Bitcoin broken out of the base. So it's been a really good end of the year. That last move right here made up for about 40% of my annual return just on this single move itself. We actually day traded throughout the year, but we only start swing trading once we got above like all the major moving averages over here, which we caught the towards the end of this move right here, and then we waited for the pullback and waited for the big pullback to load up on this gigantic move right here. So in 2024, what I'm looking for right now is to hit this resistance point right up here at 4,900. I'm looking to hit that around January. Then through the election cycles early on in the year, we usually see weakness. So I'm thinking once we hit about right here, we're going to get like a month or two of pullback, retracement, maybe some chop around to come back and retest this level over here. So this is the 4,600 level. If that level breaks, there is another support down around that the 4,500 area as well. So if it does pull back a little bit further down, that would be the level I will be looking at. So this is more like the zone that I'll be looking at for support right here, somewhere along right here. So if it pulls back around here in March or April, I'll be looking for a bounce around that area. And once it bounces around that area is where I will reload into another long position for the end of the year election run. Right. So I'm looking for around right here. I think we're going to get a choppy start uh potentially and see what happens. Usually I just trade the price action, so don't take just because I think it'll come down. You actually wait for it to come down. Sometimes it doesn't come down. So if it doesn't come down, it just makes some shallow pullback and then just continue to go higher, then just follow the trend, right? That's the way I trade. I trade it level per level, and I look at price action and volume on my trades to determine what to do with my trades. Right. So I always try to make some type of scenario. What would happen if it goes towards my scenario, and what would happen if it goes against my scenario, and then have a trading plan for both. And this is how you survive in the markets, right? Even though like doesn't matter what trade it is, even though it looks perfect, it can go against you by news or anything. Whether right. So the only way to trade. And I think for 2024 is very important is to trade with a plan, right? If it goes up, have a plan for that. If it goes down, have another plan for that, right? So that's just the way I think 2024 is going to be a pretty choppy first half of the year, and then at the second half of the year, we're probably going to see some strength. So in we're in this this is the weekly chart, by the way. So if you look at this looks like a big cup and handle top, right? So these cup and handle tops, once they broken out, they can go for a big ride up. So I'm looking at if we do break out and retest and actually hold this upper part, we could have a pretty significant end of the year move, right? We could move all the way up I'm looking at somewhere the maximum peak will be around that 6,000 zone, but I'm looking somewhere in between like 5,000 and 5,600 as the next zone above here. So we go and hit somewhere right here. And if it gets extended, then we can hit that 6,000 area, right? It looks far-fetched, but we've seen crazier things in the last few years. So this is nothing compared to that, right? So if you look at 2020, see this year, this big giant move right here was fantastic, and we could see another one like that going up to here. But once we hit this area right here, I think we're going to see a pretty big correction like it did right here. Whenever you get a big bull cycle like this, you tend to get a fairly big pullback as well. So this is a weekly chart, so this doesn't look like that big compared to the bottom of the COVID lows. But because it got so far extended, and if you bought anywhere near the top and it pulls all the way back down here, it's pretty significant, right? So this is the same type scenario that I'm looking at right here, is that we could get a parabolic move up into the end of the year, and then a very sharp pull down, possibly going up to here and then pull back and retest this high, right? So that could be a fairly big size move if that happens, right? And if we enter a pretty severe recession, if we break this low right here, it can go really, really bad after that. So but right now I'm only projecting that we go test over here, retest. If we make a higher low off this level here, we're gonna go higher. And that's the way to play, right? If it makes a higher low compared to this low, we're going to end up higher, and 6,000 is our target. If we break this low right here, then this scenario will be done. You should be out, and then reassess the market if we break this low right here. Okay. And let's take a look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, we got out of this big base right here. So I caught a little bit of this move right here. I got in a little bit late. I was watching it, and then it just took off way too fast. I wasn't paying attention to it because I was still concentrating more on day trading. But we caught a little bit of the end of the move, and which is a fairly good size move. But it's starting to base over here up top, and this is at the top of the cup right here, so it could form somewhat of a handle between this zone right here. So I'm watching this like a hawk, right? So I set my alerts right here for the above and below as well. So if we break above this top right here, which is around that 45,000 area, it is very likely we want to test 50,000, and then maybe a little pullback to retest this 45. And if it holds, then we're going to go for the all-time highs, right? But if we come down, and then if it breaks this area, the next support is all the way down here at like 30,000, right? So it could come back and retest that 40,000, 38,000 area before we actually continue higher. But by the look of it, the range is getting very, very tight. So if we are going to break out, it could happen next month, this month, I suppose, January. In January to March might be a pretty good run if we actually break above that 45,000 area. So what does that mean for Bitcoin stocks? So Bitcoin stocks, I'll be looking at buying Riot in Mara. So Mara seems to be performing much better than Riot lately. So I'm going to split it on both. Because Riot is still down, further down from the previous high, so there's a lot more potential for upside. So I am going to get some Mara as well as Riot, because Mara seems to have much more momentum. See, as you can see, Mara actually made a higher high and Riot did not, right? So there's a lot more momentum in Mara. So I should be invested in both, because this one could actually continue, and if it reaches the all-time highs, is a big return. But for Riot, where it's still not making a new high yet, there's potential going to break that high and then go higher. So there could be a different type of move on both stocks. I'm also looking at MSTR as well for a Bitcoin play itself. I don't actually own any Bitcoins, mostly because my Bitcoins got all stolen a few years ago from projects. So I stopped buying Bitcoin. I actually just buy Bitcoin stocks now. So I So I'm mostly looking at these Bitcoin stocks. So MST are actually still holding up very well. So it is just up at the top there near that near that high over here to form the cup. So we might see a handle, and then yeah, this will reflect on the Bitcoin price a lot more closer. So this will, if Bitcoin's going to form a little handle, so will this, and then maybe an explosion up afterwards. So this thing could actually go up to $1,000 if it really takes off. So I look at their options. Their options are very expensive. That would be the way I would play it, but it's very expensive and it's very risky, so you can't really size it. But I can definitely play Riot or Mara with options, and I could size them way better. So, and there's a lot more potential for upside percentage wise for a play like that. So I'll be concentrating more on Riot and Mara, and maybe I'll just buy a little bit of MSTR just to get some exposure to the actual price of Bitcoin, because the miners sometimes don't move the same way Bitcoin does. Sometimes they perform much better. Sometimes they perform much worse. So it's best to have a little bit of exposure of both just to play the entire sector. So you can also buy the BTF. I think the one that I bought before is BITQ. Um, so this is the Bitcoin Innovations ETF, and you can see that it was actually making a higher high based off that. So it is performing comparison to Mara. So if you want to have less individual exposure, and you just want to get more exposure towards the sector, but not the actual stock itself, because sometimes these stocks they um, do some offering when their stocks are on the run. So we've seen that happen in the past. So and usually when they do an offering, the stock tanks pretty hard. So it's good to go the ETF route as well if you don't want too much exposure to that stock offering on the individual stocks. Right. So I think for 2024, the theme's going to be more risk trades because um, interest rates are coming down. And when interest rates are coming down, usually the risk trades are on. That means small caps will outperform the S&P 500 because 2023, the Meg 7, like your Apples and Nvidia, Microsoft and stuff like that, they contribute to majority of the returns on the index. So they're up like over 90% on the Meg 7 last year, I think. So I think this year a lot of that money is going to rotate out into the smaller caps where they're still struggling. So if the market is going to stall, if the S&P 500 is going to stall around up here, then likely that the money is going to get rotated into small and mid caps, right? So if we take a look at MDY, which is the mid caps, it's almost at the all-time highs. So it is starting to move quite a bit. And if it does break the all-time highs, it's likely it's going to go much higher. Right. And IWM's been struggling, right? It's been struggling for the longest time. It's been in this very long base. And we just got a break of that last week, but it came back down. So right now I'm looking for it is extended because it came all the way up from the lows. Usually when it does that and it breaks out, it's usually a fake out, right? So because it's extended away from the base. So now I'm looking for a higher low base of this extension and then maybe find some support around this 180, 190 zone. Maybe 195 or so, and then we can continue higher. So if he pulls back, creates that higher low, and then we're going to break out again, the chances are we're going to hit this upper part right here. This is the big zone where it was stuck before, and there's a lot of supply up here. So I'm thinking that we're going to hit this supply zone, maybe retest this high before we explode up and make all new all-time highs for next year. So small caps is where I will be concentrating on for 2024. I'm still going to look at SPX because there's still room to play over there. But I think for a lot of the risk trades and the high returns is going to be in the smaller caps. So I'm going to diversify some of the allocations into small caps and into Bitcoin stocks as well for 2024. And if that risk scenario comes on, then perhaps we're going to get some pretty significant returns from the small caps and the Bitcoin sector. Right. So the last time something like that happens was in 2020, 2021, where we get that big explosion up like this. So if we get another scenario where it explodes up like this in a parabolic state, then you can make some pretty significant returns of that. It doesn't even have to equalize all of this. Even if you make half the size of this move on this next cycle up, we could make some pretty significant returns. So that would be what I'd be looking at. And when they start cutting interest rates, recession tend to happen months, sometimes a year afterwards. So I'm thinking that if we do get into a recession, it's going to happen somewhere towards the end of 2024 and maybe 2025 into 2025 before that happens, because this year is an election year. So usually towards an election year, they kind of manipulate the numbers a little bit to hold up the markets until elections is over. So that's why I don't think that we're going to hit that recession this year, but I think there will be a pretty sizable correction if the if we get this pullback right here and it get extended down a little bit, right? Because the from previous election years, the first few months tends to be pretty strong corrective move before the big bull move coming through, usually around March and April, around there. So I think that if you're going to trade light, um, you should trade light into the first few months, and then wait for opportunity to come in March or April for the opportunity to buy and go higher, right? So I would wait till about the March or April to see how the price action is working out and how what the setup looks like before deploying any type of significant cash. Right now, I'm still invested. I still have, but we took a lot of profits in December, so I'm waiting for that pullback to come back to re-enter in some of the stocks that we got into. And I've been scanning some of the more beat up names like your Neos and Blank and stuff like that, and the like cyberspace and stuff, cyber sector. So those are the type of names I'm looking at to get into if the setups are there. More of the higher growth names, smaller caps, mid caps. Right. If we look at the gross S&P 500 growth sector versus uh, the S&P growth sector versus the value sector. The value sector is actually outperforming. It made new highs, it retested, and then it exploded up already. So I think the growth sector needs to play some catch up because it's still not hit the all-time highs yet. So it's still kind of struggling hitting that all-time high. So still waiting for it to come back and retest the all-time high. So I think there's some catch up to go. And so I think whenever it gets extended this on the value side, because it's more of the mix seven, it's going to get rotated into the other sectors to equalize the performance, right? So it's going to probably rotate into the growth into next year as interest rates come down. So one of our biggest plays for next year will be TLT. I already have a very sizable position. So we've been talking about TLT for last year, and we start buying like even around here, right? And then when it got down to the 80s is when I really backed up the truck on this, because that was the area I was looking to get heavy onto. Now we're into this resistance zone right here. So we're back into that other area. This is a pretty big supply zone. So there might be some pullback, but I'm looking for a higher low this time, right? So if you're already in it and you make quite a bit of money, you could what I do is normally I keep long-term hold position, and then I have a trade around position. So in my trade around position, I'm probably going to take some profits, and then I'll see if we make a dip, and then I'll buy the dip. Right. And then once you break above this level right here, that's where I'm going to go back in pretty heavy again. And then I'll aim for this level. Usually treasuries is not really something you trade, but it seems like the movement of these interest rates is quite rapid. And if you can see right here, there's a lot of demand down this level right here. So this potentially could be the bottom, and then this is the start of the move, and we could get into a pretty big cycle up, right? So if we actually make back to the highs of before the interest rate cut right here, so we could actually explode it up to here. right? So that would be almost 100% return if you make go back up to the all-time high. So that would be what I'll be concentrating on, and most of my money is going to rotate into this in the next 3 months to park some of the cash while I wait for buying opportunity in the other names. So let's take a quick look at some of the mix seven, so you can see huge performance in 2023. It's likely it's going to pull back. If it doesn't pull back, it's going to chop around before it goes any higher. So these are names I think a lot of people is going to rotate money out of this. Like Meta, you can see that it's testing highs, creating a reversal hammer on the weekly. So it can come back and retest some of these levels right here, create like maybe a handle before the next leg up. Tesla is still in this downtrend. You see it's very defined downtrend right here. Right. So we're still over here in this downtrend. Wait till this trend broken up. You can see I set quite a bit of alerts around this area right here already. So I'm still waiting for this to explode up before I consider adding any size to this. I do still have a fairly sizable position in this because I bought it around right here. So if it actually breaks this level right over here, maybe set my alert right here too. So if it breaks like these EMAs stack right here, I probably wanted to consider taking some lighten my precision and then wait and see what happens in this consolidation, because it is in a flag format. So you can see this over here to here is kind of like a flag. So it could go up or it can pull back one more time before going back up. So give that a little bit of time on Tesla. It doesn't look great right here because it got rejected right at the timeline. So it's likely it's going to come back down. So last time we did make lower lows. So if this time if you still continue to make a lower low, then it's not viable just yet. You better take the stop once you start breaking those EMAs. Amazon also have a really good run. We're towards these big supply zone right here, so there's could be a pullback around this area right here. So same thing, like I don't have much exposure on these anymore. I choked my profits. I'm just waiting for the pullbacks to really get back into them. Same with Google. So Google's still holding up really well at the top, and it does look like a cup handle type of pattern. Nvidia is consolidating pretty heavily right here. If it breaks the high right here, like over 500 and it holds, it's going to run. And I noticed that Nancy Pelosi got a position in this. So whenever she buys, usually she knows something because she doesn't play the stock market that well, right? Last year she had like a huge performance in Nvidia. She bought a lot of calls before some news came out, so she tends to know what's going to happen before she buys. So and she just recently bought in November or December, I forgot. And she got a fair size. I think it was $5 million position in Nvidia. So I think she's looking for that breakout like we are. Right, Apple's also making this double top right here. If Apple holds this area, it's going to go higher. But if it start coming back, Apple's usually a leading indicator into a retracement of S&P 500. So if Apple start pulling back early, and S&P 500 isn't yet, usually S&P 500 follows shortly after. So just pay close attention to what Apple's doing. So I'll set my alerts right here. So if Apple does break down, then that just tells me that I should pull some money out of the market and just wait, right? Microsoft has been performing really, really well. It's the best performance out of all the things, other than Nvidia. So it is flagging up here, so it could come back and retest this breakout high before going higher. But if it actually holds right here, I think it's going to continue higher. Microsoft is probably one of my favorite stocks now because of OpenAI. And I think that's going to be a huge market later on. So I think Microsoft is very well positioned for that. So that would be a stock I will be looking to buy the dip on, right? Anyways, I think that's pretty much it. So for 2024, just the way that you should trade is always manage your risk, right? So all of these projections right here, they may not work out. That's where your risk comes in handy. So you always need to know what to do when the market is going against you, right? So that's the best way to play. And if you know how to deploy your money properly, in trade these trends, you don't need a big trend. You just need a little trend to make significant amount of money, right? Because like this recent move up here. This was a significant money maker right here. So this only took place in like 2 months, right? In 2 months, I made 40% of my portfolio on in 2 months time, and and you can do that just like anybody can, right? And the people that take on higher risk, uh take higher risk in proper opportunities. Don't take high risk like up here. Like up here is not a good area to buy with high risk. This is an area to trade with caution. And then on the pullback, once it makes that higher low, then you can deploy some cash and go for the ride. Okay. Anyways, I wish you guys happy new year, prosperous 2024. Also, if you guys are interested, I do have a live trading course coming next week, actually, starting January the 8th. That is my swing trading course. If you want to join, if you haven't already, please sign up for my free Facebook group. The link's in the description below. Over there, there's a coupon code that you can join the course for $2,000 off until the course starts in January the 8th. And that course is just currently just finished updating towards the current market conditions and how to trade. And we're going to probably talk about a lot how to trade 2024 in that course coming up. So if you guys are interested, how to take your trading to the next level, and this is for more serious traders, not it is quite an expensive course because I plan on training all my students to become great traders, and we spend a lot of time on a daily basis talking the markets and actually answering questions on and trading and everything like that. So that's why the course is more personable, and hence the time commitment, which is why the course is so more expensive compared to some of the bigger programs out there. Anyways, happy New Year. See you guys next time.